Spearos? As you can tell by the intro, this episode is insane. It's multiple dives across multiple days, and you don't want to miss it. We're at a dangerous zone on a solo dolo. It's choppy, there's kiters, but this is my favorite zone for spearing, and I've gotten some of my best fish here, so let's see what happens. Hopefully we get lucky. As you can tell, the water was crystal clear blue. So excited to get in. Just need to walk to where it's a little bit more remote. If you guys watch my other videos, you know this is regular routine for me. Standard procedure getting into these rough conditions. First things first, get those fins on. The nice Ocean Ammo Aquanaut fins. Popping out of the foot pocket a little bit, but that's to be expected when you're doing these shore dives. Rocking the roller again. Gotta get that thing loaded as soon as possible. Waste no time in case there's a fish. Here we go, kicking through the whitewater yet again. Avoiding kite surfers. That's usually not a great sign if you're spearfishing, if other people are using the water for surfing or kiteboarding, but it's a common thing for me. I don't mind. I already see a barjack, so I'm gonna go after him. You know, these aren't always on my target list, but I'm doing this to eat, and I needed food this day, so I'm going after him. Oh, that twitchy maneuver he pulled caused me to miss, so it is what it is. Started off with a miss yet again. On the next drop, it was a random flasher throw, and as I was going to pick it up, I spotted some nice antennas out from one of the caves. I found that lobster and absolutely wanted to take it, so just go for it on the same dive. He walks right up to me, and then I go for that antenna, try to pin him down using the Florida Spearo technique that Jay taught me, and yank him right out of that hole. We already got ourselves a nice bug. I was fired up to have a bug just to start off the dive. I knew it made it worth it going out in those conditions. Something a little unique that I do is dispatch my lobsters. Not everybody does this, but for me, it's worth it just to make sure it doesn't suffer, and also so that I can put it in my pocket. Then the classic swipe, even on a lobster. Shortly thereafter, I've already identified my next target, spotted him from the surface because the water's so clear, and I'm on my way down to grab him. I can tell he's in kind of a small hole, so even if I miss the initial grab, I'm able to pry him out with force. I'm doing my best not to injure it, but at the same time get it out of that hole. Once I had him by this hold, you know, holding the antennas, it was pretty safe to say I secured this lobster, so I was excited to get him to the surface as I got another good thing to eat. Another swipe for the homies watching at home. Once again, I've spotted one from the surface, and I'm on my way down to get it. This one was a little more tricky, so keep a close eye out for my technique here. He's sticking pretty far out of the hole for this time of day, so I just want to make sure he doesn't get deep back and lost in there, so grab him by the antenna, pin him and hold, just like Jay says. And then in that cave, I see there's a couple more. I could have gone for him, but wasn't really interested. I already had 3, so I'm just going to take my lobster and head to the top. I noticed this one had recently molted, and it was actually a soft shell bug, so that's always interesting, a little bit different. I noticed this little guy crawling around outside of the cave after I had just taken the big one, so just wanted to go down and assess the situation. As you can see, this spot had quite a healthy lobster population, so it's always fun just messing with them a little bit, just try to grab them for fun, so hopefully they'll be a little bit smarter and more cautious of the next diver they encounter. Didn't grab any more here. 3 was going to be just enough for me. I love lobster as much as the next guy, but I will say I'm more of a fan of hunting fish. If you guys know me in real life, you know I get more excited about shooting fish. So I finally found a pretty fishy looking zone and still eyeing these barjacks because I do want one at least to take home. This one comes in and gives me a shot, but it's a little bit hard to maneuver my gun and I just blew it. There was a ton of current, if you can't tell, and that plays a factor. These delicious lobsters also played a role in the current, dragging me back. You know, having 3 lobsters just clipped into your weight belt like this definitely slows you down as a diver. There's a good amount of life in the area, and I was hearing whale sounds, so that's always a good sign, and just want to stay around, hang out, see if anything good passes through. Because I found a zone full of barjacks and Bermuda chubs and a lot of life in general, I just want to hang around in that zone instead of wasting my time on dead reef. So as you can see, this little Cero mackerel comes in. I have no interest in shooting it, it's just a little too small, but it was a pretty cool clip. This is where it got crazy. I saw a massive king swim under me, just checking out the zone. So I threw my flasher right away. As you can see, he charges it at the surface, and you know, at this point I'm just fighting against that current, trying to close the distance. I can see that it's a monster, probably 40 to 50 pounds. It's definitely bigger than the last one I encountered, but I am fighting that current. I got 3 lobsters on me, very hard to close the distance, and I just take a Hail Mary, absolutely whiff. Didn't hit the fish at all. I was just shocked to see one that big.
Massive king.
I thought my reaction there was pretty funny. I was absolutely in shock and just still wanted to throw my other flasher just in case I could keep him around for enough time while I reloaded, but he wasn't interested at all, and I ended up empty-handed again. After that madness, I decided to head back to the shallows, try to secure a fish, because at this point, I just have lobster. As you guys know, the pluma porgy is always on my radar, and they're pretty cautious, so just try to move my gun nice and slow as I approach this thing and wait for him to give me a shot, but these ones were pretty mellow. They were pretty easy. Thankfully, I nailed him. I brained and bled the fish, as always, for the eating qualities. I didn't get it on video, but as I was exiting the water here, there was a massive shark watching me in the shallows, so it felt pretty uncomfortable, but I was just glad I made it out okay with a few nice lobsters to share. What up, Spearos? We at the home zone with about an hour and a half to dive before work. The only problem with the home zone is it takes about an hour to kick out to any reef where there's actually life, so nobody's gonna find this spot, but here it is. I finally see a schoolmaster. That's the only fish I've seen thus far that I would target, and I'm trying to approach him slowly. I guess this could be considered the aguado dive technique, kind of crawling across the reef, but I can tell watching it back I hunt him way too aggressively here. Like, look at him spook. I keep trying to chase him down, and as I come across this corner I have a split second where I could have popped him, but I hesitated and just didn't get the shot I was looking for, and there he goes into a cave, and he made it safely. So my hunting strategy in this zone is typically just blind dropping onto the reef and seeing if anything comes in, because the visibility is not perfect. I can't see from the top any target species, but I saw a lot of small fish, so that's usually a good spot to drop, and here comes a nice little Cero. Patiently wait until he gives me that shot I like. With that shot placement, I know he's not going anywhere, so I just head back up with my catch. Certainly on the smaller side, but at least it's enough for lunch for dive number 2. Dive number 3 is in a super public zone, so I can't show you guys the background. What up, Spears? Just made it to the spot. It's not a remote zone this time, but I think it's a fishy zone, so I'm hoping to find something big today. I did end up finding something big, as you guys will see. But on this drop, I'm just checking out this cave. It's a really big cave that I've never explored before, and there's small bait fish around, so it's always a good sign to check something like this out in case there's a big cubera or a dog snapper living inside. I do like to factor in, since this is a solo dive, I'm not pushing beyond my comfort zone. Just exploring the edges of the cave, peeking in, see if anything big comes. There's a big margate right there, but I don't really like to eat those, so I leave them be. The mangrove snappers are pretty interesting, but just a little on the smaller side for my liking. Beautiful cave though, even some nice little menpachis in there. On this drop, I spotted a barracuda, so I'm going to take him out for chum. This isn't something I always like to do, but in certain scenarios, if I'm in a fishy zone like this, I will plug one. As you can see, I strung the fish, so I know I got him, but the gills did a little bit of damage to my shooting line, which is always annoying. Got to be careful here, 'cause these things have nasty teeth, and I'm using my fin to block it from my body, and that way I can eventually secure the fish and get a knife in them. Then in the next clip, you will see what the commotion brought in, and this is what probably you came to the video for. So it's yet again a monster kingfish on a shore dive. Look at him just cruise through underneath me, and I'm trying to remain calm. There's a big fish in the area. Just keep the heart rate down and do everything that you've practiced. I throw my flasher and he charges it straight from the bottom all the way to the surface, and he's given me plenty of time here while he investigates it. And here I go, making my drop, holding my breath. I don't want to make the same mistakes as last time. I'm doing whatever I can to get close. He spooks a little bit, but I'm patient. I keep waiting for my shot. He comes in for a closer look. I knew I placed a really solid holding shot in the fish, but the fight was not over, and I did not celebrate at all yet. I was super nervous here as he's pulling line. I just trying to keep the right amount of pressure on, but I know they got soft skin and I don't have a slip tip, but hoping that shot holds here. He's really pulling line. Even though I hit a close to the spine shot, it didn't do enough damage, but here I go. I'm on the line. I'm pulling. He's still fighting. And then bam, right there. It goes limp and my heart just stopped. You guys might be wondering why I didn't put more pressure on the fish, given I had such a good shot, but I was worried about my line breaking because that barracuda really frayed the line because I shot it in the gills. It was the worst feeling knowing I injured that fish and likely killed it for no reason. Even after I felt like I did everything right, I waited the extra time, I placed a solid shot, but somehow he came off. I just swam in at this point. I didn't want to hurt anything else and recouped for the next dive tomorrow. Here we are again, morning, going after that king after yesterday's absolute heartbreaker. The closest I've ever been to landing one of the worst heartbreaks I've had in spearing. I am going after it again. Hopefully we get another chance, and this time finally put one in the boat. Murkier the next day, but I just wanted to give myself another chance, so I went back to the same exact spot. I brought my bag of chum, went to the ledge, and was hoping for another king. It's no king, but I spotted a nice mackerel from the surface, and I decided to head down and get him. Here you'll notice, instead of chasing the fish, I just head straight to the bottom and make a little bit of noise. Even though he's on his way out, watch as I attract him to come right back in. I start scratching that sponge a little bit, and he comes straight into me. Because I placed a nice shot, I know I can put the pressure on, and I already replaced the shooting line from yesterday, so I'm not as worried about the fraying damage. As always, I brain, bleed, and gut the fish. Here I point out a really nice mutton snapper towards the bottom of the screen. He's investigating the chum, and it's always difficult when you see one of these fish from the surface because they're just so intelligent. I just want to drop straight to the bottom, but even when I go beneath the surface, it's already spooked. But either way, I just continue my descent to the bottom, keeping an eye on him, hoping that I can call him in with some grunting and scratching. I try to sink my way behind this sponge and just hold on to it, get as low as possible, and sort of hide my face behind it. So I'm kind of shielding my eyes from this mutton, and he's just cruising, staying very far out of range. Highly intelligent, this species, and just trying to make a little noise, do something to draw him in. Here I stay real low. I thought maybe I could get behind the rock and catch him by surprise. But as I approach, he is already long gone.
Smart mutton.
So I waited around by the chum and was able to get another chance on this mutton. I tried to sort of dive bomb it and stay in his blind spot, but it didn't seem to be working, so once again I just try to hit the bottom, see if I can't get a better shot on him. Maybe I could have rushed a shot on the way down, but I didn't want to take any risks after injuring that king mackerel the day before. I tried a bit of dusting, a bit of tapping, but he was on his way out. I even slammed my gun against the reef. On my way back in, I decided to do a drop on this crazy cave structure. And you might recognize this from the Kubera video because this is the same cave that David shot a Kubera in over a year ago at this point. It's just an insane looking structure. It's super nice to see again, and there's still a lot of life there, so I'll have to go back another time to properly explore it. So that's about it for the diving in this video. Hope you enjoyed those 3 insane, intense shore dives. It's really a shame I missed this giant king mackerel, especially because it's so rare to have these encounters on shore dives. As Spiros, we just do our best to make the most of the opportunities we're given, and sometimes, unfortunately, things go wrong. But when you get in the water as often as I do, you're bound to have some exciting experiences. So I'm looking forward to the next ones and excited to share in the next video.